So I might love Antifa now, or at least some of us might, and of course it's a bit ironic because and a bit jokey because they have become the chief misogynists. They have become misogynist in chief.
Pretty based.
It's incredibly what it is. So as you can see here, I thought we'd start with the shill, of course, being the interview with Posie Parker, a women's rights advocate, and also I'm going to make the point that we should stop calling them TERFs. I don't know why I've been doing this, and they're totally right, because she's not a feminist. She says herself.
Right. Well, I can understand calling somebody like J.K. Rowling a TERF because she is a radical feminist. Whereas if Posie Parker's like, no, I'm not a feminist. I just care about women and their rights.
But there's the thing, like a whole bunch of what has been called the TERFs, including by myself, are just not because they're not feminists. Like they've said themselves we're not feminists, although they do have their preclusions, of course. But we'll go forward and we'll go to what the story is about why we might love Antifa Now if we're chief misogynists. If we go to the next one here, we can see, well, this is Julie Bindel. Verify check mark right now there that this was an image that took place in Manchester over the weekend. We got some black-clad Antifa types with their trans flags guarding the Emily Pankhurst statue, the suffragette who, well, overlooked the bombing campaign that the suffragettes engaged in to get the vote. So
very progressive, very forward-thinking.
Yeah, you might wonder what the hell all this was about. If we go to the next one, we can see the protest and counter-protest. So Posie Parker, the non-feminist, the women's rights advocate, who decided to turn up and give a speech about the fact that women are women. Stunning and brave, and it actually is, though, because, of course, you end up with these people turning up and screeching at you. And one of the things they decided to screech at her and her supporters was, we are on the right side of history, as you can see Stephen reporting on the ground there.
It's their one go-to phrase, isn't it? It's quaint and stock at this point. Oh, you are on the right side of history. Of course you are. There you go.
You never have been.
No, they never have been. And that's also as if to imply, I mean, they subscribe to the Whig theory of history that everything is just a straight line of progress going up and getting better and better.
And we're on the good side, so things will get good.
Yes, if we win, things get good. If they win, things get bad. It's never that simple.
But also, for these examples, I think they're definitely on the bad side of this one.
Yes.
Let's play the clip to hear the screeching.
We are on the right side of history! We're on the right side of history! We're on the right side of history!
I love how simple it is, though. Just, we're right, you're wrong, prepare to die.
Just screeching it over and over again like a child.
But there's no... That's the point of the screeching, right? There's no conversation, there's no room for disagreement, there's no room for a rebuttal.
I think these people never got past the 2-year-old period of being a toddler, just saying, this is mine, and you go, no, it's not. Yes, it is.
But it's also the modus operandi of left-wing politics, as you can see, well, exemplified in this example.
I'm so glad I don't live in Manchester anymore. So embarrassing.
But then we also have this individual who noticed it as well, who was there. I presume she's part of the women's rights group. Says, Manchester Now, the other reason I know I am on the right side of history. I have never felt the need to obscure my face as a protest. Hope all the women are safe. Because this black bloc turned up, of course, obscuring their face, which, yeah, is actually a good point. So why you're obscuring your faces in public? Like, you're going to go to a public protest. You show your face because you're public? You would have thought, but no. Instead, got to cover it up. This is also technically illegal in the UK because you cannot wear a uniform to a protest.
Oh, really?
Because of Mosley. So we banned that to shut that down. But that's the thing. Black bloc is also a uniform as well. But the police just don't enforce the law in that regard. Although I do love, I don't know if you can see it very well, but if we can click on it, please, John. Can you spot the capitalism amongst the black bloc? The Chanel bag.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, £2,000 Chanel bag.
Well, it's only capitalism if they don't get the Chanel bag.
Yeah.
Then that's capitalism blocking them from what they so desperately need. What, would you rather they starve, Callum? Would you rather that they can't carry food with them and literally die?
Yeah. But however, this is also just a funny thing, of course, because this is the anarchist federation have turned up, a bunch of socialists as well, so it is correct to call them Antifa. It's not just the tactics and the uniform and all the rest of it. There's all the ideology along with it as well. If we go to the next link, we can see them also screeching here. You have Posie going down and just filming them because it's funny. And they're screeching, protect trans kids. And the question that comes to mind is, for what and who?
From what? I mean, I would protect kids from the trans activists, ideally.
Let's play the clip.
Protect trans kids! Protect trans kids! Stop censoring women! Protect trans kids!
So they're behind that footage, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But they're screeching at Posie and her supporters that they're there to protect trans kids. Again, for who?
There is no such thing as a trans kid. Just to make it clear, what they're actually trying to protect them from is number one,
reality.
well, yeah, number one, reality. Number two, their parents, because parents are often very protective of their kids. And number three, just anyone or any institution that won't affirm them entirely, because affirmation, anything other than affirmation of their identity is evil and is going to kill them, despite the fact that research has shown that pure affirmation does not work.
That's why I say, for who? Who are you protecting the trans kids, quote unquote, for? Well, it's not the parents, it's not the kids, it's for your movement. That's what you're protecting it for instead. There's also Stephen tried to go up and talk to them in the slightest, and of course the black bloc, being a black bloc, are autistic, so they couldn't speak. Let's play the clip.
How are you doing? You okay? I did come for the statue, but if you want to have a discussion, I'm open to it. No? Okay. Sorry, why are you blocking me from the statue? Hello, let's ask you a question. Watch your face. Can I have a look at the statue, please? In public property. Can any of you speak? Any of you willing to have a conversation? No? You think this changed anyone's mind?
Is that your microphone, Tom?
Yeah, it's the wind guard, don't worry about it.
The black face mask on the left.
It's really just a shame you're not 8 foot, because my arm sort of just gets it. You sure you don't want to chat? Happy to hear why you're here. Blink 1 for yes, 2 for no. No? Alright, well, thanks anyway. Stay safe.
Love it, love Stephen.
That's
having fun there.
That's brilliant. Also, like I say, the darting eyes, it makes them, they don't look intimidating. They don't look scary. They look confused and scared.
Because this is the funny aspect for me, especially, because we're on, right wingers are used to dealing with Antifa, a bunch of socialist lunatics who just want to cause violence, and retards turn up and screech fascist, and we all just laugh at them. And the funny thing being that they now reduce themselves to going to women's rights protests and screeching at the women because of intersectional logic on transgender ideology. And that is what they're reduced to. And I can't think of any worse optics in mind for your political movement than to be screeching at women that they don't deserve to be safe for your ideology.
At this point, it's literally got to the point where the existence of real women delegitimizes trans women in their mind. If you can't actually just be a real woman, then what's the point?
Also, I love the imagery. No one seemed to pick up on that, but the imagery there, and I suppose you can get it up in this J.K. Rowling tweet if you just scroll down a little bit, because you can see it in Stephen's footage, which is the fact that there is a rope with a transgender flag attached to it around Emily Pankhurst's neck, lynching her there. So
that is quite symbolic, really, isn't it?
The trans movement is literally hanging by the neck until dead the women's rights movement in the form of the suffragettes here.
Although we should make it clear, Emily Pankhurst, I'm not that familiar with her, to be perfectly honest, but you said she did some bombing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of bombing.
Though, I mean, for people who don't know, in the UK, we had two movements. One for the idea that we just have political activism and protest and blah, 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 therefore to get women's rights. And then there were the suffragette guys who were like, what if we just bomb the parliaments to radicalize the moderates? I don't know. So, they would bomb like letterboxes and stuff and ended up killing 5 people. So, one of them being a suffragette, so not much was lost. However, that's the situation there, which is that they want to hang the suffragettes. So, literally misogynist in chief, if nothing else, from Antifa.
Mm-hmm. I respect them more and more.
Joking, of course. But you can see J.K. Rowling here as well, also taking notice and then retweeting Stephen's footage and plenty of other pictures and whatnot for her hordes of fans to see what is going on. Her saying here, there is no conflict between women's rights and our ideology. To prove it, we've dressed up as ninjas to block public access to a statue of a suffragette. We're confident that this has done wonders for our cause. It definitely isn't an unintentional, hilarious own goal. I don't know why you didn't pick up on the hanging as well. Like, not only are they going to try and block you seeing the suffragette, they're going to hang the suffragette. How tolerant.
They're standing for the establishment, finally. Conservative Antifa. BTFO's feminism.
We go to the next one. Conservative in the 1800s, maybe, as you can see there. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic about that being around her neck, you may remember there was a lady in this country who did end up being interviewed by the police for hanging up a suffragette ribbon on a gate. That was it. It's not even around something's neck. And it was reported to the police.
I do remember that, yeah.
It was reported to the police as a noose. And then she was interviewed by the police, and I believe ended up having to fight for a job as well. So, I'm not taking any of this symbolism for granted. And the fact that they're just doing it with the trans flag on it and waving in front of it, It's just too perfect. Too perfect an image.
Well, just imagine if because the police were there the whole time.
Yep.
This scene, everything is the exact same, except the flag is not a trans flag, but is something related to right-wing ideology.
Instantly shut down.
Yes.
I mean,
everyone arrested, identities released, people doxxed.
This is having left-wing privilege, which is you can do literally anything, and the state will back you up because, well, you're part of their movement, effectively. If we go to the next one here, we can also see the fact that Antifa started manhandling some woman who turned up with I believe that's some kind of suffragette flag there, and I suppose we'll play this so everyone can see.
Hey! Get your hands off me! You're grabbing my ass! Hey! Stop! I don't know how we're gonna do this.
I mean, okay, literal assault. Also,
what were you attempting to do, really?
Also, I like this guy's style.
He's very cool. I'll give him that.
He's very cool. I'll give him that. Yeah.
But then the Antifa black bloc member there. You're just gonna push her over? And what that was? Because that's the thing as well. Like for right wingers, we're kind of used to this in the sense that they would turn up to protests and physically assault people. In Sweden, we've seen them raid homes of people and threaten their lives and whatnot. All over the world, this has happened. But in the UK, you of course have this at right-wing protests, and it's fine in the sense of like no one cares that a man has been beaten up by someone from Antifa. But if you beat up a woman who's there with a suffragette flag,
it's not a good look.
It is the worst possible optics on earth, and they still do it.
But I think the best thing about it, John just pointed it out, was the fact that this was one guy, one Antifa member, trying desperately to push over what looked like a middle-aged woman and failing spectacularly. Yeah. He managed to get her to comfortably sit down and then...
Still holding onto a flag. She didn't even lose it.
Yep.
Unlike Antifa at King's College that lost it and it now sits in Cole's garage. So there's that. There's also J.K. Rowling taking notice of this, calling it basically best misogyny. I never expected the right side of history to include so many people in mass intimidating and insulting women, did you? But she never dropped her flag. Emily would be proud. I just love the fact that it's just like, misogynist in chief, literally pushing over women. Why? Because anti-fascism. What? I mean, it's never been more clear. I know it's always been clear for us, but for the public, for Joe Average Guy, I mean, if you needed a piece of footage to show how like degenerate Antifa are, I mean, that's it. That's the one you show. There's also the next one, which we can see them just screeching at women on their little mobility scooters. Let's play the clip.
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our city! Our city! Our city! This is what community looks like! Community looks like!
That's what you're screaming at.
This is just embarrassing. Just imagine how pathetic these people are. All you can do, we've just put some flags and hung a noose on a statue and we're yelling at people in mobility scooters. Jesus Christ, get a job.
I mean, there's a reason I focused on this, is because you couldn't ask for better optics, which is there's a little lady there on her mobility scooter and the black bloc is screaming, "Whose streets? Our streets!" What do you want her to do? Like stay home? Presumably?
Cripple fight!
It's ridiculous. If we move forward as well, we can also see someone making the point that the police did not arrest people with face coverings in their little uniform, but instead tried to warn the lady holding the suffragette flag that she was the bad one in this instance. If we go forward again, we can also see the fact that the TERFs are not exactly confident that the police are even on their side, and rightfully so, because the police are terrible in this regard.
The police... Yeah, they do generally side with the furthest left cause. It's like, but in the past they may have gone women's rights. That's as far left as we're going. But now that it's been pushed even further, they've left the women's rights in the rearview mirror
for women's rights and lefts. I don't know, like it's all over. Yep. that movement. But you can see them here with the pride flags, the local police. It's just endless. I think Manchester police had to be completely destroyed at one point.
Possibly one of the worst. Once again, I say I'm really glad I don't live in Manchester anymore, just because of the fact that, one, the police are completely useless, and also this sort of thing is happening like almost on a weekly basis. There's constantly social justice activist protests going on. The other week I saw a bunch of people I knew in uni were outside of the massive public library there, all protesting on behalf of trans rights. It's okay, what rights don't they have?
A trans right to what?
Yes.
To be a woman. Okay, you can't have that.
Okay, there's
This
a
is
little
literally
thing,
the Monty Python sketch.
Yeah, a reality.
What's the point in having the right to have babies if you can't have babies? Like, don't work.
And you could be a lumberjack if being a woman doesn't work out. So
Yeah, but this is, sorry to bring it down a notch, but I mean, the intersectional ideology, as you can see, infecting the Greater Manchester Police, I mean, this does have real world effects as well, separate from this case, which is, of course, believe it was the Greater Manchester Police who had to be completely disbanded administratively and rebuilt because of their failures in regards to the grooming gangs. The fact that they completely ignored it because they didn't want to be racist.
Well, they don't want to be racist, and also the more time they spend on stuff like this, the less time they're dedicating to something else.
There's also that aspect as well. But this ideology is what caused them to ignore the grooming gangs. Because, oh no, arresting a brown nonce would be racist. No, it wouldn't. And even if it was, he's a nonce. I feel like one is worse than the other in this case, but the Greater Manchester Police didn't think so. But let's move forward again, because we can also see the usual like lobby groups turning up and being like, there's no place for hate in their communities. Hell.
Unless it's hating women.
Yeah, which case is based. That's right, I'm against homophobia, but for.
Yep.
Hell of a statement. But you can see Fair Cop here making the point. Actually, it does. Hate is an everyday emotion expressed, for instance, at booing at the national anthem at the FA Cup final. Not pleasant, not smart, not clever, but not criminal. And very much part of Liverpool life, or in regards to anything else as well. So I really hate this idea that it has no place in our society. So okay, so we'll all be happy. We'll take the happy pills and be constantly happy, shall we?
I think hate is honestly a very useful emotion.
It's a human emotion.
It's a very
part of the
human emotion.
experience.
But there's a reason that we have that emotion in the first place, which is, for instance...
Nonces.
Yeah, nonces. I hate nonces. It helps me to keep them away from my children. It's very practical.
But let's move forward, because there's also some other stuff I thought I'd mention that I found hilarious. So this being a weird message. So this is Gloucestershire Fire Service here with their new fire truck, and they've done the paint again. To show conformity with the regime. You can click on that, John. We can see that they wrote on here, fire doesn't discriminate, neither do we. Which
that is a threat.
Awfully reads like a threat. It's just like, as you said earlier, that's right, we'll burn you to the ground.
Yes.
Just the police turn up Hank Scorpio style.
Yeah, scroll down for your response to that as well. This is what I'm picturing.
So this is the fire service, remember?
They show up at your house and you've got a suffragette flag on the window and they go, don't get out the water cannons, boys.
Take it rather literally. We're not the water service, we're the fire service.
Yep.
Burn down the place. Fire doesn't discriminate, and neither do they. So, oh god. We'll move forward. There's also the imagery from that day being, of course, obvious, because after the Black Bloc left, the women's rights activists went up and put a suffragette flag on the suffragette instead of a noose. So, of all the things. And I thought I'd end this off by checking in with gender ideology in Australia, of all places, as well, because something happened that is just gross, and I thought we'd look at it. So this is quoted here in the news. Safe place, Australian museum defends allowing man in lingerie to play with Lego at a children's event. I mean, I got some questions, you might think. This is all in the name of inclusivity as well. Don't want to be exclusive and say that the man in lingerie can't be next to the 2-year-olds.
We want to be inclusive to perverts.
Yes. I don't want to exclude them. That would be right wing.
They might be upset.
I'm with the right wingers on this. Kick them out. So here's a quote. You let a male in fetish gear play in the Lego kids set during the school holidays, the woman said. When I spoke to the security, they said they could do nothing and pointed me to the organizer. He's sitting there with his full package out. Disgusting. I mean, that's a very salient point by one of the women who witnessed this. One Twitter user wrote, man in fetish clothes wants to play with children and the museum are too chicken to remove him. I'm shocked that the parents didn't pick him up by the hair and kick him into next week. He was poking the hornet's nest. And yeah, also not a bad point. If you can scroll down here, John, you can see what the hell are you doing with your life? What the hell is wrong with you? The people who allowed this?
Stay away from children.
Not hard.
Jesus Christ.
In a statement shared with news.com.au, a spokesman said the Australian Museum is, quote, committed to being a safe place where everyone feels welcome, including suspected nonces, apparently. There you are.
I think we've got some evidence. This looks like evidence to me.
In the name of inclusivity, we can't kick this person out dressed in lingerie with their package out in front of the kids in the Lego set, because that would be right wing. Yeah, I'm feeling more and more confident about being right-wing every day of the week.
Literally every day, I have more and more confirmation that I made the right choice.
Absolutely. They then continue to say, the safety of our visitors and staff is our top priority, and we have policies, procedures, security, and Australian Museum staff to ensure this. Except that your policy is about protecting the weirdos who show up and not the kids themselves instead, apparently. But there we are. That's the end of the news there in regards. I thought he was checking Australia. And I don't know. WTF? Love Antifa now. She's misogynist. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series, this one between Bo and Thomas on the history of Formula One. And if you want to follow Thomas, you can follow him on Getter at @Thomas W. Dowling on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.